divine settlement of every loss, betrayal, and delay is being released. Archangel Michael warns that only those who are awake in this hour will receive it. My beloved child, a holy stirring is moving toward you in this very moment, and Archangel Michael is standing closer than he has in months. He whispers that a divine settlement of every loss, betrayal, and delay is now being released into your life, but only for the ones who are awake in this hour. This is not a gentle message. It is a prophetic alert for your spirit. Something is shifting behind the veil, and what you thought was stolen is about to be restored in a way that shocks even you. The realm of light has been observing every tear, every silent battle, every night you held your heart together when no one saw your breaking. Michael says heaven has counted each moment you were overlooked, mistreated, or forgotten, and the scales have finally tipped in your favor. In the unseen, there is movement. Not ordinary movement, divine recalibration. I can see a heavenly scroll being unrolled, and written on it is your name. A settlement hath been stamped and sealed. Every loss that once felt final is now becoming the soil for an unexpected rise. The betrayals that wounded your trust are being turned into the very proof that heaven was protecting you from hidden traps. And the delays that made you question your worth were only divine pauses designed to align you with something greater than you imagined. Michael stands guard because what is approaching requires a warrior angel to oversee it. There is something important you must understand. Settlement does not come when you feel strong. It comes when heaven says enough. And heaven just said it. For years, the enemy has attempted to exhaust you, confuse you, distract you, and drain you so that you would not notice this hour of awakening. But you are still here. That alone is evidence that grace has carried you. Michael whispers that your survival was not accidental. Your endurance was proof that your spirit recognized truth long before your mind did. Listen closely now, because this part is crucial. There is a spiritual wake-up call being sent across the earth, and only those who are spiritually alert will receive what heaven is releasing. This message has reached you because your spirit is already responding, even if your emotions are tired. You are not here by coincidence. You are here because heaven needed you to hear this today. A holy transaction is underway. The things that hurt you the most are becoming the very testimonies that will carry you into your next season. Michael shows me doors, 3 of them, opening in rapid succession. Restoration, revelation, and realignment. Each door carries something you once thought you lost. Your restoration will not be quiet. It will not be subtle. It will be so clear that even those who doubted you will not be able to deny it. Michael says, the awakened ones will see the signs before the shift. The sleeping ones will see the shift before they understand the signs. And you are among the awakened. That is why this message found you at this exact moment. This divine settlement is not merely financial or emotional. It is spiritual, and it is generational. The healing that is coming for you will touch everything connected to your name. The peace that is being released will settle the storms that once stole your joy. The clarity you are about to receive will reveal why certain people had to leave, and why certain paths had to close. The betrayals, they were not rejection, they were redirection. Heaven removed what your heart still trusted because it saw what you could not see. Michael now stands as witness that you are stepping into a chapter where no hidden intentions can follow you. This settlement is cleansing your atmosphere, clearing your path, and breaking every delay that has hovered over you like a cloud. What once took years will now take months. What once took months will now take days. What once felt impossible is now becoming your new normal. Something deep in your spirit already recognizes this truth, even if your mind is still catching up. That's why you feel this strange pull as you listen. Your spirit knows this message is not poetic, it's prophetic. Archangel Michael is sounding a warning and a blessing in the same breath. Only those who remain awake, spiritually aware, emotionally present, and willing to trust will receive the fullness of this settlement. Do not slip back into old fears. Do not return to the weight of old disappointments. Something is breaking open for you even now. And before you move on, hear this. The next revelation will be even greater than this one. You will want to witness what is about to unfold, because the next moment in this message carries a release your spirit has been waiting for. Stay close, the shift has only just begun. Type "I step into my settlement" in the comments if this is stirring your spirit. Blessing code 1444 is now active for the awakened ones. Part 2. Dearest soul, there is a deeper stirring now, one that Archangel Michael says only the spiritually alert will fully sense in this hour. What is unfolding around you is not simply restoration. It is divine rearrangement. Heaven is reorganizing the pieces of your life in ways that will make sense only when the fullness of the settlement arrives. You may feel a strange mixture of peace and anticipation, a quiet calm wrapped in an unexplainable urgency. That is because your spirit already knows something monumental is approaching. Michael stands in the threshold of this shift, holding back the remnants of old battles so that you can walk without the weight that once slowed your steps. He is clearing your atmosphere with a precision only a warrior angel can carry. Everything that once strained you is losing its grip. Everything that once intimidated you is losing its authority. This is the hour where the awakened step forward, and heaven responds. You must understand the significance of this moment. For years, you have been in a spiritual battle that you did not always recognize as a battle. You thought you were simply facing life's difficulties, unexpected losses, stable ground turned unstable, relationships shifting without warning, seasons that felt empty or delayed. But Michael reveals that much of what you walked through was spiritual interference designed to break your focus. The enemy hoped that if you were discouraged long enough, you would forget who you truly are. But despite all of it, you kept believing. Sometimes quietly, sometimes desperately, sometimes with only a small ember of hope left inside you. And heaven has honored that ember. Heaven has honored your endurance. There is something powerful about someone who keeps walking forward even when everything around them feels uncertain. This divine settlement is not random. It is not a reward for perfection. It is a response to perseverance. When you kept going, you activated spiritual laws in the unseen realm. Every tear you cried became a seed. Every betrayal became a doorway. Every loss became the catalyst for a reversal no human could orchestrate. And now Michael says the hour of reversal has arrived. Not will arrive. Has arrived. You are standing in it, even if you do not fully see its shape yet. The settlement is coming with a pace that will surprise you. It will unfold layer by layer, but each layer will bring clarity to questions you've carried for years. What was delayed is being accelerated. What was hidden is being revealed. What was broken is being pieced together with divine precision. You are stepping into a chapter where your spirit will feel lighter, your decisions will feel clearer, and your direction will feel guided by something beyond your own reasoning. And that is because it is. Archangel Michael is guiding your steps more closely in this season than you may realize. B is ensuring that you do not miss what heaven has prepared for you. The awakened are being positioned strategically, placed in rooms they once prayed for, connected to people who will honor their spirit instead of draining it. Heaven is aligning you with purpose that carries weight. You may feel like your intuition has grown stronger lately. You feel things faster. You sense shifts before they happen. You can tell when someone's intentions are not pure, even without evidence. You can feel when God is nudging you away from something or toward something. That is not coincidence. That is awakening, and only the awakened can receive the fullness of this settlement. Michael says the ones who remain spiritually asleep will only see the surface of what is happening, but the awakened will experience the depth. They will see the signs before the breakthrough, the patterns behind the delays, the wisdom inside the waiting. You are one of them. That is why this message carries weight in your heart. It is speaking to the part of you that heaven has been activating slowly, intentionally, and powerfully. I must tell you something Michael is revealing now. Every season of loss was a setup for this moment. Every time you felt betrayed, heaven was removing access from people who could not walk with you into your next season. Every delay you experienced was a divine tactic designed to protect you from misalignment. Had you received what you wanted earlier, it would have been too soon. You would have been surrounded by the wrong people, the wrong influences, the wrong intentions. Heaven waited until now because now you are awake enough to recognize what is truly for you. And now you can see the signs that you once ignored, the warnings you once overlooked, the patterns you once tolerated. This awakening is not accidental. It is the requirement for the settlement being released. Michael says your next step is not to strive but to stay present. Do not drift back into old mindsets. Do not question your worth. Do not wonder if you are qualified. Heaven has already confirmed that you are. The spiritual realm has already positioned itself in alignment with your breakthrough. You simply need to remain aware, alert, and open. There is more coming than you understand, and the next revelation will unlock a deeper part of your destiny. Hold on, because what you are about to hear next will take this message to a new level of clarity. You will not want to miss what unfolds next. Type I remain awakened in the comments if this message is stirring your spirit. Blessing code 2299 is now activated for those who stay spiritually alert. Chosen heart, breathe gently as you enter this next phase, because Archangel Michael is unveiling something far more profound than what has been spoken so far. This moment marks a spiritual threshold, a crossing point where heaven begins to pour out justice in ways that overturn everything the enemy built against you. There is a roar in the spirit, a movement that shakes the atmosphere around your life. You may not see it with your natural eyes, but your spirit is already reacting to it. Michael stands with his sword drawn, not in battle stance, but in declaration. He is declaring that your season of loss has ended. He is declaring that the betrayals that once wounded you are now powerless. He is declaring that the delays that frustrated your soul have lost their authority. Heaven is confirming what your heart has quietly hoped for. Your divine settlement is not simply coming. It has already been released. You must understand that heaven does not operate on earthly timing. While you felt like you were waiting, heaven was building. While you felt overlooked, heaven was designing something with your name carved deeply into it. Every tear that fell in silence was counted. Every disappointment that drained you was recorded. Every moment you felt forgotten was seen. And now, that record has reached a point of divine verdict. Michael says the word completion has been stamped over your past season, and release has been stamped over your present one. You are no longer standing at the edge of breakthrough. You are standing in the unfolding of it. This settlement does not return what you lost in the same form. Heaven rarely gives back the old. Instead, it gives you something that surpasses it, something that carries the weight of purpose, protection, and purity. What was taken from you would have eventually harmed you, poisoned you, or slowed your destiny. That is why heaven allowed the removal, even though the loss felt painful and confusing. Michael reveals that some people were permitted to walk away because their presence in your next season would have corrupted the blessings heaven is sending. The betrayals were not failures, they were revelations. They exposed what you needed to know so that you could walk forward without being entangled by hidden intentions. And the delays, they were heaven's most strategic protections. Had things happened earlier, you would have stepped into blessings without the wisdom to guard them. You would have entered environments where your spirit was not yet trained to discern. Delay was not denial. Delay was training. Heaven was sharpening your intuition. Heaven was shaping your character. Heaven was strengthening your spirit to carry the weight of what is coming. And now that you stand awakened, you are finally able to recognize what is truly for you. Here is something else Michael is showing now. In this hour, Heaven is calling the awakened into alignment. This is not a season where you can afford to operate on old habits, old emotions, or old perspectives. This settlement requires awareness. It requires clarity. It requires the willingness to walk away from anything and anyone who pulls you backward. Michael stands behind you as a guardian, lifting your spirit, sharpening your inner hearing, and heightening your spiritual senses. You may notice dreams becoming clearer. You may notice sudden peace around decisions you once wrestled with. You may notice an inner pull to release certain connections or habits. This is not coincidence. This is awakening. And awakening is the key to receiving the fullness of this divine settlement. Now listen carefully, because this next revelation is one of the most important. Michael says that your restoration will not come quietly. It will be visible. It will be undeniable. It will shift the atmosphere of your entire life. People who dismissed you will wonder how you rose so quickly. Those who betrayed you will not be able to comprehend how heaven reversed what they meant for harm. And those who tried to delay you will witness that heaven cannot be blocked by human hands. Your story is becoming evidence that divine justice is real. The settlement you are stepping into will carry weight not just for you but for every person connected to your purpose. And before this part closes, Michael urges you not to disconnect. What is coming next is deeper. Here is a revelation waiting that will show you why heaven chose this hour specifically. Before you scroll, understand this. The next wave of this message will clarify what has been happening in the shadows around your life. Stay close, because you will want to hear what heaven reveals next. If this is speaking to your spirit, type "I receive my divine justice" in the comments. Lesson code 5588 has been released over those who stand awakened. Now take a moment for something important. If this message is stirring your spirit, if you feel heaven pulling you closer, then help this mission reach the ones who are still asleep. Like this message, comment to push it forward, share it with someone who needs clarity, and subscribe so you do not miss what heaven sends next. Now hear this support message, flowing directly from the heart of this revelation. The same divine settlement that is being released over you today is meant to reach countless other souls who are walking through their own losses, betrayals, and delays. When you sow into this work through Super Thanks membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are opening a spiritual door for others who desperately need God's voice in this hour. Heaven says that every seed becomes a beam of light, breaking through the places where people feel forgotten. Michael himself witnesses the offering of awakened hearts. I feel led to say this. When you support, you become part of heaven's rescue mission. Your giving becomes prophetic, a sign that you are aligned with what God is doing in this moment. And I bless every giver with divine acceleration, divine covering, and divine overflow. Step into this act with boldness and let your support speak like a declaration of faith. Sacred One, breathe slowly as you step into this next unveiling, because Archangel Michael is drawing back another layer of truth that has been hidden from your understanding until this very hour. What you are experiencing internally, this quiet shift, this inner alertness waking up piece by piece, is not random. It is a sign that you are crossing deeper into the territory of divine settlement. Michael says that the spiritual realm has been watching you with intense focus, watching how you respond, watching how you rise after each disappointment, watching how you continue to hope even after seasons that tried to destroy your vision. This next revelation is designed to strengthen your spirit, because what heaven is placing in your life requires maturity, clarity, and grounding. You are being prepared not just to receive blessing, but to hold it without losing yourself. There is a reason this process has been long. Heaven builds slowly when the foundation must carry great weight. For so long, you have been walking through terrain that felt unpredictable. You did not know why certain things broke down. You did not understand why certain people grew distant without explanation. You questioned why situations you prayed about seemed to move backward instead of forward. What you did not see was what Michael has been protecting you from. Behind the scenes, there were assignments meant to drain your strength, distractions designed to pull you into emotional cycles that would have kept you spiritually asleep, and individuals whose presence would have interfered with your destiny. Heaven allowed certain endings because your future required separation. Not all distance is loss. Some distance is deliverance. Some distance is protection. Some distance is preparation for what you asked heaven for without realizing the cost. And now Michael reveals the deeper truth. Your delays were divine interventions disguised as waiting. They were meant to slow you down long enough for heaven to realign what was out of place. Had things moved faster, you would have walked into blessings at the wrong time, with the wrong people, and with the wrong mindset. Heaven needed your spirit awake, your discernment sharper, and your heart detached from old wounds. The settlement is not just compensation, it is elevation. And elevation requires clarity. Heaven has taken you through spiritual refinement without announcing it, but now the purpose of it is beginning to unfold. There is a stirring inside you, a recognition that something is shifting even if your physical reality has not caught up yet. This is what Michael calls the pre-wave, the spiritual signal that your destiny is accelerating. When heaven begins a settlement, the first shift always happens in the unseen realm. You begin to feel lighter. You notice old fears losing their grip. You sense new courage rising inside you. Even your intuition begins to sharpen. The things that once confused you are now becoming clearer. The things that once overwhelmed you are losing their power. This is the result of spiritual awakening. And as Michael says, only the awakened can receive the full measure of this settlement. But hear this carefully. Your awakening is not only for you. It is meant to break patterns that have existed in your life for years. Patterns of earning love, patterns of tolerating disrespect, patterns of shrinking your voice, patterns of carrying burdens alone. Michael says your awakening is destroying generational cycles of limitation. What once stopped those before you will not stop you. What once broke others will not break you. Heaven is assigning strength to you that is not from this world. You are being prepared to walk with a confidence that does not come from circumstances but from revelation. You may notice that your spirit grows uncomfortable around anything that lacks truth or alignment now. You may feel an inner push away from certain conversations, habits, or energies. That is not mood. That is discernment. That is Michael guiding you to guard the space where your settlement will land. Your spirit is becoming sensitive because heaven is bringing you into a season where distractions cannot be allowed entrance. You must remain anchored. You must remain awake. You must remain aware of the subtle movements of grace around you. Heaven is whispering to you more than you realize. Pay attention. The signs are growing louder. Now understand this. Divine settlement is not only restoration of what you lost. It is restoration multiplied by purpose. Heaven is not returning the old. Heaven is giving you the version of blessing that fits who you have become through the journey. There will be moments when you will look back and realize that what you once prayed desperately to keep would have suffocated your spirit in this season. That is why it had to leave. That is why heaven allowed the separation, even when it made no sense. And now, everything begins to make sense. The alignment is becoming visible. The clarity is becoming stronger. The justice of heaven is drawing near. Michael says you are closer now than ever before. You are stepping into the point where heaven begins to reveal what has been prepared for you in silence. But before this unfolds, you must remain attentive. There is a deeper truth waiting in the next revelation, something your spirit has longed for without being able to articulate it. Hold still. Stay with this message. The unveiling is not over. What comes next will shift how you see the entire journey you have survived. Before you move forward, wait just a moment. The next segment will carry a release that your spirit has been waiting for, and you will want to hear it. Trust me, this next part will open your eyes even wider. Type "I am awake" and ready in the comments if this message is touching your spirit. Lesson code 3344 is now released over the awakened ones. Precious soul, step gently into this next wave, because Archangel Michael is opening a deeper realm of understanding, one that explains not only what is happening around you, but what had been happening within you for far longer than you realized. This is the part where heaven connects the invisible dots, where the meaning behind the losses, betrayals, and delays begins to shine with clarity. You have not walked through your journey blind. You have walked through it protected. And now, for the first time, Michael says your spirit is finally strong enough, wake enough, and steady enough to receive the truth of why everything unfolded the way it did. This divine settlement that is being released over your life is not merely a restoration. It is a reordering of destiny. Heaven is placing you back into alignment with the path that was written for you before you ever lived a single day on this earth. There were moments when you questioned whether God still remembered you. There were seasons when you wondered if heaven had turned silent. But Michael reveals that heaven was not silent. It was strategic. There were prayers you cried out that required rearrangement on a level far deeper than you understood. Heaven had to remove certain influences, shift certain relationships, expose certain deceptions, and close certain doors that you would have kept open out of loyalty, love, or fear. You were not being ignored. You were being prepared. And preparation requires pruning. Preparation requires separation. Preparation requires the courage to walk through seasons that feel lonely, unclear, or heavy, but necessary. Michael shows me an image now. A path that once felt blocked is now glowing with light, as though heaven has cleared every obstacle that stood in your way. This is what divine settlement looks like in the spirit. It is heaven saying, "You have endured enough. Now receive." But this receiving requires that you understand one essential truth. The battle was never about what you lost. The battle was always about who you would become through the loss. Your spirit has grown. Your discernment has sharpened. Your sensitivity to truth has intensified. You do not tolerate what you once allowed. You do not cling to what once kept you limited. You do not ignore warnings the way you once did. This is the awakening Michael has been guiding you toward without your full awareness. You may notice that your spirit has begun to feel restless in places where you once felt comfortable. You may feel a pull away from old habits, old environments, old cycles. This restlessness is not dissatisfaction. It is transformation. It is the inner sign that your spirit is outgrowing what no longer belongs to your future. Divine settlement requires that you do not return to former patterns. Heaven is not giving you settlements so that you can rebuild old structures. Heaven is giving you settlements so that you can step into a life that reflects who you truly are. If your spirit feels the shift, it means heaven has already begun the release. Michael says there is a specific reason why you have survived what would have broken others. You carry a calling that requires spiritual awareness. You carry a destiny that requires maturity. Your journey was never meant to look like the journey of those around you. You were always going to walk a path that demanded deep resilience, deep discernment, and deep faith. Heaven knew that the blessings prepared for you would draw both favor and opposition. That is why your spirit had to be strengthened before your settlement could arrive. Those who receive big blessings must have strong foundations. And heaven has been building that foundation in you piece by piece, season by season, tier by tier. Now hear this clearly. This settlement will touch every area of your life that has been affected by loss or betrayal. Relationships, finances, purpose, identity, peace, nothing is being left out. Heaven is not returning to you only what was taken. It is returning what was delayed, what was blocked, what was withheld, and what was hidden. Even opportunities you thought you missed are circling back in higher form. Even moments you believed were gone forever are being reborn in ways that exceed the original. Heaven wastes nothing. Every pain becomes a seed. Every waiting season becomes fertile ground. Every disappointment becomes a doorway. Michael is showing something unusual, something rare. There is a shift happening not only around you, but in the spiritual atmosphere connected to your name. What was once resistant is now fragile. What was once blocked is now open. What was once delayed is now accelerated. You are stepping into a season where heaven moves swiftly. The same areas where you once faced resistance will soon become the places where you will experience unexpected ease. This is not coincidence. This is settlement. This is the restoration heaven held until you were awake enough to receive it fully. And before this part concludes, Michael releases this thought: do not underestimate what heaven is doing in silence right now. Yes, because you cannot see the movement does not mean the movement is not happening. Heaven often rearranges the most important things quietly, so that when they appear fully formed. Trust the silence. Trust the stirring. Trust your awakening. Something greater is unfolding. Before you continue, pause. The next revelation contains something powerful, something designed to confirm what your spirit has been sensing but could not articulate. Hold on, because what comes next is woven with destiny. Type I line with heaven's timing in the comments if your spirit is resonating with this. Blessing code 4411 is now released over those who are stepping into divine order. Beloved spirit, as you enter this next unfolding, Archangel Michael is drawing you into a deeper layer of awareness, one that reveals not only what heaven is doing for you, but what heaven has been shielding you from in ways you never recognized. This is the part where clarity meets revelation, where understanding finally catches up to the quiet movements of grace that have been surrounding your life for years. Michael says the divine settlement being released over you is not a single event. It is a series of orchestrated alignments set into motion by your awakening. What you are beginning to sense within you, the heightened intuition, the unexpected peace, the inner strength rising from places that once felt wounded, is evidence that the spiritual realm is preparing you for a level of restoration that requires awareness, not passivity. There were times you felt like you were barely holding on. Moments when you quietly whispered to heaven that you were tired, confused, or unsure of what your purpose truly was. Those moments were not signs of weakness. They were spiritual turning points. Michael says every time you felt like you were breaking, you were actually expanding. Your capacity to receive, your ability to discern, your courage to release what no longer served your destiny. All of these grew in the very seasons you wished would end. You were not being crushed. You were being refined. Heaven was stretching your spirit so that when the settlement arrived, you would have the strength to hold it, protect it, and honor it. This divine settlement is more than restoration. It is recalibration. It is heaven correcting what was thrown out of alignment through disappointment, manipulation, or delay. You walked through seasons where people misunderstood you, underestimated you, or took advantage of your kindness. You endured situations where your silence was mistaken for weakness and your patience was misinterpreted as acceptance. But Michael reveals that every injustice hath been placed on heavenly scales. Nothing was overlooked. Nothing was forgotten. Nothing was dismissed. Heaven has reached its appointed hour of reversal, and your spirit is awakening just in time to witness the shift. Michael is showing a vivid image, like a scroll unrolling in the spiritual realm. On this scroll are events, relationships, losses, and delays that once felt scattered or meaningless. But as the scroll widens, the pieces begin to connect. Heaven is revealing that nothing was random. Every exit was protection. Every disappointment was a pivot. Every closed door redirected your steps to something higher. Even the pain you could not explain carried purpose beyond your understanding. You were not wandering aimlessly, you were being led. Heaven never left your side, even when your heart felt abandoned. This next truth may shake you gently, because it exposes a dimension of your journey that you sensed but never fully understood. Michael says that part of your awakening is learning to see the betrayals of your past not as failures but as revelations. The people who walked away were meant to walk away. The people who misused your kindness revealed their true nature so that heaven could free you from connections that would have destroyed your future blessings. You were never supposed to carry certain individuals into the next chapter. Their departure was heaven answering prayers you did not know how to voice. Some betrayals saved your life without you realizing it. Some losses preserved your destiny. Some delays kept you from entering alliances that would have drained your purpose dry. And now, because you are awake, you can finally see what your spirit always sensed. Heaven was fighting for you even when you did not know what to fight for. There was spiritual warfare happening over your life, over your identity, over your future. But Michael stood guard. He shielded you from unseen harm, redirected dangers you never noticed, and pushed back forces that tried to weaken your spirit. You survived storms you were not aware existed. The reason your spirit feels different in this season is because the battle that once exhausted you is no longer active. You are not fighting the same war you fought before. Heaven has already conquered what was coming against you. Michael says the settlement approaching you will require courage, because it will bring sudden changes, new opportunities, new relationships, new clarity, new direction. What once felt blurry will become unmistakably clear. What once felt uncertain will stand firm. Your steps will be guided with precision. You will know where to go, whom to trust, and what to release. The fog that hovered over your life is lifting because your spirit has grown strong enough to handle full revelation. There is another truth rising now, something profound and deeply personal. Michael reveals that your awakening is not only about receiving, it is about becoming. You are transitioning from someone who waited for change into someone who embodies change. You are stepping into the version of yourself heaven always intended you to be, bold, intuitive, discerning, grounded, and unshakable. The old version of you could not carry the blessings coming. That is why heaven pulled you through fire. That is why your spirit was stretched. You are emerging refined, not weakened. And before this part closes, listen closely. The next release contains a truth that will explain why certain recent shifts in your life felt abrupt or unexpected. Heaven is preparing to reveal something crucial about the changes happening around you right now. You will want to understand this, because it will bring immediate clarity to the questions resting in your heart. Wait for it. This next revelation will connect everything. Type "I rise with divine revelation" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Lesson code 7755 is now released over the awakened and aligned. Radiant soul, as you step into this next unfolding, Archangel Michael is drawing your spirit even closer to the truth of what is happening around you in this hour. There is a reason heaven has been intensifying the signs, heightening your intuition, and sharpening your awareness. What looks like sudden disruption in the natural is actually divine arrangement in the spiritual. The shifts you have felt recently, the unexpected distance from certain people, the surprising clarity about certain paths, the inward nudge to release what no longer resonates, are not coincidences. They are signals. Heaven is rearranging the pieces of your life so that the divine settlement can land without interference. Michael says that before heaven restores, heaven removes. Before heaven elevates, heaven exposes. Before heaven blesses, heaven aligns. You are stepping into the alignment phase, and this phase is crucial. There were moments when these recent changes felt uncomfortable or confusing. You wondered why certain conversations suddenly felt heavy, why certain environments became draining, or why specific individuals who once felt familiar now feel foreign to your spirit. Michael reveals that this discomfort is spiritual confirmation. Your spirit has outgrown what kept you small. It has outgrown what drained you emotionally. It has outgrown what pulled you back into patterns that no longer reflect who you are becoming. What heaven is preparing to release over your life cannot share space with old cycles. It cannot be poured into places that lack integrity, honor, or alignment. Your awakening is pushing you out of misalignment, and heaven is guiding you toward the life that matches your destiny. Michael shows something powerful now, a great turning in the spiritual atmosphere, like the shifting of a massive wheel. This is the wheel of divine timing, and it is finally turning in your favor. The delays you endured for years are breaking. The stagnation that formed around your progress is dissolving. The spiritual resistance that once pushed against you has been weakened by your persistence, your prayers, and your awakening. Even the weariness you once carried is lifting, because heaven has reached the hour where your story must shift. Michael says that not even the strongest opposition can stand against divine timing that has matured. Part of what you are feeling now is anticipation wrapped in uncertainty. You sense something is changing, even though you cannot fully define it. You feel a pull toward something greater, even though you are not sure exactly what it looks like. That sensation is spiritual positioning. Heaven is aligning you with your next season, and the alignment always begins before the clarity arrives. Your spirit knows the shift before your mind understands it. That is why you have been sensing the change so intensely. Your spirit is receiving the signals of what heaven is preparing. There is also a reason you have been feeling more reflective lately, thinking about patterns, evaluating relationships, questioning old decisions, and revisiting unresolved emotions. This reflection is not nostalgia. It is cleansing. Heaven is preparing your heart to receive without fear. The betrayals you experienced once made you cautious, hesitant, and guarded. But Michael says those betrayals no longer hold power over you. The wounds they caused have already been healed in places you have yet to recognize. The way you see yourself is shifting. The way you interpret your past is shifting. The way you hear heaven is shifting. These inner changes are the signs of awakening, and awakening is the door through which your settlement must enter. Michael reveals another truth now, one that carries deep comfort. Heaven has not only been watching your journey, heaven had been preserving you. You were kept from people who would have deceived you. You were steered away from opportunities that would have drained you. You were pulled out of situations that seemed promising but carried hidden traps. You may have felt rejected in those moments, but heaven was rescuing you. You may have felt unseen, but heaven was shielding you. The protection you did not understand before is the very reason you are able to enter this season with clarity and strength. Nothing that was truly for you has been taken from you. It has only been delayed until you were spiritually aligned enough to receive it safely. And now, as this divine settlement approaches, Michael is preparing you to stand in a place of authority. Not arrogance, not pride, but spiritual authority, the kind that comes from healing, awakening, and inner alignment. You are being prepared to walk confidently into blessings you once questioned whether you deserve. You are being prepared to recognize divine opportunities without hesitation. You are being prepared to let go of what drains your peace without apology. And most importantly, you are being prepared to receive what heaven has held for you for far too long. Before this part closes, listen closely. Michael says the next revelation carries the answer to a question you have been carrying silently, a question you rarely speak aloud, but one that rests in your heart. Heaven is about to show you why your journey had to unfold the way it did, and what it means for your future. Do not miss what comes next. You will want to hear it. Type "My spirit remains open" in the comments if this message is stirring you deeply. Blessing code 9922 is now released over those walking in awakening and alignment. Enduring soul, step into this moment with a steady breath, because Archangel Michael is preparing to unveil one of the most important revelations of this entire message. This hour is sacred. This hour carries weight. This hour holds the very explanation your spirit has been seeking without fully knowing how to ask for it. Michael says there is a reason your journey has unfolded with such intensity, such unpredictability, and such depth. There is a reason your path has not looked like the path of others. There is a reason your seasons of loss hit harder, your seasons of betrayal cut deeper, and your seasons of delay stretched longer. It is because heaven had been shaping you into someone who carries spiritual authority, not simply spiritual intention. You were not created to walk lightly on the earth. You were created to walk with purpose woven into every step. The journey you survived with the refining fire for that purpose. Michael reveals that this divine settlement is not only heaven's answer to your suffering, it is heaven's validation of your endurance. You did not quit. You did not collapse. You did not surrender to the heaviness even when you felt like the weight was too much. You held on to faith in moments when faith felt distant. You hoped in moments when hope felt fragile. You prayed in moments when your spirit felt tired. And heaven saw it all. Michael says the spiritual realm documented every moment you resisted the urge to give up. Every moment you kept walking forward despite confusion. And every moment you quieted your heart long enough to listen for God's voice. That endurance is the very reason the settlement being released over your life is so powerful. But here is the deeper truth, one Michael has waited for the right moment to reveal. You were not delayed because you were unworthy. You were delayed because your destiny required layers of spiritual maturity that could not be rushed. You were delayed because heaven needed to build something inside you that could withstand both blessing and battle. There are people who receive blessings too soon and crumble under them. There are people who receive recognition without character and lose themselves. Heaven refused to let that be your story. Heaven needed you to become strong enough to handle what is coming without losing your identity or your soul. That is why the journey felt long. That is why you were refined so deeply. That is why your awakening is so important. Michael is showing now that everything you endured sharpened you. The betrayals sharpened your intuition. The losses sharpened your empathy. The delays sharpened your wisdom. Even the moments of silence sharpened your inner hearing, teaching you how to sense heaven even when heaven felt quiet. You were being trained to become someone who can recognize truth instantly, someone who can feel spiritual shifts before they manifest, someone who can discern intentions without needing explanations. This is what makes you part of the awakened ones Michael speaks of. Not awake in the physical sense, awake in the spiritual sense. Awake enough to see beyond the surface. Awake enough to recognize divine timing. Awake enough to protect your peace. Awake enough to receive without fear. And now, as you stand in this hour of divine settlement, heaven is bringing clarity to something that once felt confusing. Those sudden endings, they were heaven's redirection. Those unexpected disruptions, they were heaven's warnings. Those abrupt separations, they were heaven's protection. Some people were not meant to walk into your promised season because their presence would have contaminated the blessing. Some environments were not meant to hold your growth because they would have suppressed your transformation. Some cycles were not meant to continue because they would have weakened your discernment. Heaven stepped in before you could see why. Michael stepped in before you could understand. And now you are beginning to see the truth your spirit has sensed all along. Michael says the divine settlement ahead of you is layered. It will not come as a single moment, but as a wave that touches everything connected to your destiny. It will restore relationships that were meant to flourish. It will open opportunities that were once withheld. It will clarify paths that once seemed foggy. It will bring justice to situations that once felt unfair. It will bring peace to wounds that once felt deep. Heaven is not simply returning what you lost. Heaven is elevating you into what was promised. You may already sense this in your spirit. The quiet expectation, the bubbling anticipation, the inner knowing that something is shifting. You may notice that peace comes faster now. Discernment comes quicker. Clarity comes more naturally. These are signed, not coincidences. Michael says awakening always precedes blessing. Awareness always precedes settlement. Spiritual readiness always precedes release. And you are ready now in a way you were not before. Listen closely as this part nears its close. The next revelation holds a key you have been waiting for. A key that unlocks understanding about what God is positioning you for in this next season. You will not want to miss it. The next unfolding will strengthen your spirit and confirm what your heart has quietly suspected. Stay with this message. This is where it becomes even more powerful. Type "I walk in heaven's alignment" in the comments if this message is resonating deeply. Blessing code 6677 is now being released over those standing in this hour of awakening. Before you move forward, help this message reach the ones who are spiritually asleep and searching for direction. Like this message to push it further. Share it with someone who needs heaven's clarity. Comment to increase its reach. Subscribe so you never miss what heaven releases in this space. Heaven is moving with urgency in this hour, and the same divine settlement being released over you is meant to reach thousands who are still trapped in confusion, heartbreak, and spiritual sleep. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into the awakening of souls. Every seed becomes a beam of spiritual light, pushing back darkness that has kept people bound for years. God says, "What you release, I multiply," and in this moment, your support becomes a prophetic act of alignment. I feel this strongly. Your giving in this hour becomes part of heaven's strategy to rescue hearts that are crying out silently. May every supporter be covered under open heavens, accelerated breakthrough, and supernatural favor. Step boldly into this moment and let your seed speak with authority. Beloved one, step into this next unfolding with a calm and open spirit, because Archangel Michael is preparing to reveal a dimension of truth that will bring extraordinary clarity to your journey. You have reached the part of this message where heaven begins to illuminate not only what is coming, but why it had to come in this specific way. Michael says there is divine reasoning stitched into every moment of your story, even the ones that felt chaotic, painful, or unfair. Heaven does nothing randomly. There is intention behind each shift and purpose behind every change. You have endured seasons that felt unpredictable not because you were forgotten, but because heaven was repositioning you for a life that required spiritual precision. This next revelation will help you understand that the settlement being released over your life is not just a response to your suffering. It is the unfolding of a divine plan that has been in motion longer than you know. Michael is showing a powerful image now. Your life is a tapestry woven with threads of both light and shadow. Some threads represent joy, breakthrough, and celebration. Others represent heartbreak, confusion, and loss. But when the tapestry is viewed as a whole, every thread, even the darkest ones, forms a pattern that is meaningful, purposeful, and divinely designed. Heaven is revealing that nothing you have walked through has been wasted. Not a single tear, not a single disappointment, not a single delay. Everything has shaped the person you have become and the spiritual maturity you now carry. Your awakening was forged in the places where you felt stretched the most. There were moments you questioned whether you were strong enough for this journey. There were seasons where your spirit felt tired, where your heart felt fragile, and where your mind felt overwhelmed. Michael says these moments did not weaken you. They purified you. They refined your intentions. They clarified your desires. They separated what was truly yours from what was never meant to stay. Sometimes heaven removes comfort so that truth can emerge. Sometimes heaven strips away what you leaned on so that you learn to stand in your own spiritual authority. These adjustments, though uncomfortable, were sacred. You may not have realized it at the time, but your ability to sense spiritual truth began to grow stronger during your most painful seasons. When you felt alone, your inner hearing sharpened. When you felt lost, your intuition awakened. When you felt betrayed, your discernment deepened. Every trial trained a different part of your spirit, preparing you for the very blessings that are now approaching your life. Heaven cannot release large blessings into unprepared hearts. That is why preparation comes before settlement. That is why awakening precedes release. Michael says you have reached an hour where the spiritual and natural are aligning perfectly. Your inner world and outer world are finally beginning to match. The peace you feel internally is the first sign. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of alignment. When your spirit knows something is coming, it begins to settle even before your eyes see it. This peace is a sign that heaven's timing has matured. The divine wheel has turned. Your name has been called in the spiritual realm, and everything connected to your destiny is being recalibrated to match the season you are stepping into. You may have noticed recently that clarity arrives faster. You know sooner when something is wrong. You sense more quickly when something is right. You walk away from misalignment without guilt. You protect your peace with confidence. These changes are not mood shifts. They are evidence of spiritual awakening. You cannot enter a divine settlement with old patterns, old wounds, or old attachments. Heaven has already begun the cleansing. That is why relationships shifted. That is why your interest shifted. That is why your priorities shifted. You are being shaped into someone who can carry blessing without being trapped by. Michael reveals another truth now, one that explains the deepest question many awakened souls wrestle with. Why did the people you cared about the most hurt you the deepest? Why were certain betrayals so unexpected? Why did certain losses feel so sharp? Michael says these experiences were not meant to break you. They were meant to free you. The people who wounded you exposed their true intentions so that heaven could redirect your path without your loyalty binding you to the wrong future. Without these revelations, you would have been surrounded by the wrong influences during your season of elevation. Heaven allowed the exposure so that your settlement would be safe. This divine settlement is not fragile. It is protected, is guarded, is marked for you. And because of that, heaven removed any person, habit, or environment that did not carry the spiritual integrity required to stand beside you in this new chapter. It may have felt like loss at the time, but it was liberation. Heaven sometimes frees you through endings that feel painful but are actually purposeful. Michael has been guiding these shifts with precision. And now, as the settlement draws nearer, heaven is also preparing your identity. Your view of yourself has been changing. You no longer see yourself through the lens of past mistakes. You no longer shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You no longer doubt your intuition the way you once did. Michael says this identity shift is crucial. You must see yourself the way heaven sees you. You must recognize your worth, your purpose, your authority, your calling. Heaven cannot give you blessings that you are afraid to claim. This confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment. As this part draws to a close, Michael whispers something important. The next revelation will speak to a future moment you have not yet lived, but your spirit has already felt. It will clarify why certain doors remain locked until now. It will explain what heaven is preparing you to step into. Hold still. Stay close. This next unfolding will be one you do not want to miss. Type I receive heaven's pattern in the comments if this message is resonating with your spirit. Lesson code 8844 is now released for those stepping into deeper clarity and alignment. Awakened soul, step gently into this next wave, because Archangel Michael is preparing to unveil a revelation that touches the deepest place of your journey, the place where purpose, pain, destiny, and timing intersect. What you are about to hear is not merely guidance. It is a spiritual decoding of everything your heart hath been sensing, but has not yet fully understood. Michael says the season you are entering is unlike any season you have lived through before. This is not a repeat. This is not a cycle. This is not a continuation of old patterns. This is the emergence of a new timeline, a divine chapter that could only open after your spirit reached a certain level of awareness, healing, and readiness. Everything up until this moment has been preparation for what is about to unfold. Michael reveals that heaven had been waiting for something very specific, your agreement. Not agreement in words, but agreement in alignment. Agreement in awakening. Agreement in awareness. Heaven needed your spirit to reach a place where you no longer clung to the past, where you no longer apologized for your intuition, where you no longer questioned the validity of what you sense spiritually, and where you no longer dismissed the quiet whispers heaven placed within you. This settlement is not meant for the version of you that lived in survival mode. It is meant for the awakened version of you, stronger, clearer, more discerning, more intentional. And now that this version is rising, the path ahead is opening swiftly. You may have noticed recently that life feels like it is shifting quietly around you. Old desires feel dim. Old relationships feel distant. Old ambitions feel outdated. This is not boredom. This is spiritual redirection. Heaven is pulling you toward a chapter that carries greater purpose than the one behind you. Some things no longer excite you because heaven has outgrown them for you. Some connections no longer feel aligned because heaven has completed their purpose in your life. Some dreams no longer stir your heart because heaven is birthing new ones. Michael says the stirring you feel is not confusion. It is transition. Your spirit is beginning to move before your circumstances catch up. Now hear this clearly. The divine settlement approaching your life will require space. Heaven cannot pour new blessings into an atmosphere filled with old clutter. This is why you have felt the inner urge to release, reorganize, restructure, and reevaluate. Your spirit is clearing space before your mind even understands why. Heaven always begins with inner transformation before outer manifestation. Michael shows that your heart has been shifting into alignment. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. You are beginning to see yourself differently. You are beginning to honor your boundaries. You are beginning to value peace over chaos, truth over illusion, and alignment over attachment. These changes are not accidental. They are the prerequisites for the settlement entering this season. Michael now reveals something extraordinary. The delays you experienced were connected not just to your readiness, but to the readiness of people and environments tied to your future. Heaven was aligning multiple factors at once: conversations you have not yet had, connections you have not yet met, opportunities that were being prepared, hearts that were being softened, doors that were being built. Sometimes heaven must delay you to prepare what you are walking into. The timing had to be perfect. The alignment had to be flawless. What is coming to you is not ordinary blessing. It is orchestrated blessing. It is strategic blessing. It is blessing that must unfold in the exact right moment. There is also something deeply personal heaven wants to reveal. The reason certain doors did not open sooner is because those environments would not have honored your spirit. You would have been tolerated, not valued. You would have been used, not appreciated. You would have been drained, not elevated. Michael protected you from entering places that did not carry the spiritual integrity to hold your destiny. What felt like rejection was protection. What felt like closed doors were actually divine shields. Heaven hid you until the environment was prepared to receive you correctly. Michael says your spirit has matured in silence. You have grown more than you realize. The inner strength you carry now is not the strength you had even a year ago. You have healed wounds that once defined you. You have broken patterns that once limited you. You have awakened spiritually in a way that few truly achieve. Your awakening is the key that unlocked this settlement. Heaven waited for the moment when your identity aligned with your purpose. You are standing in that moment now. And now, another truth rises. Heaven is about to accelerate your life. What once took years will begin to unfold in months. What once required struggle will begin to flow with ease. What once felt complicated will suddenly make sense. Michael says acceleration is the signature of divine settlement. You will know you are entering your appointed season when things begin to align effortlessly, when help appears unexpectedly, when doors that were once sealed begin to open without resistance. Heaven is orchestrating this with precision. As this part nears its close, Michael urges you to prepare your heart for the next revelation. It will address the shift happening inside you that you have not yet found words for. It will speak directly to the transformation you feel but cannot fully explain. It will connect the spiritual awakening you have experienced with the destiny you are stepping into. Do not miss what comes next. The next unfolding carries a message that will bring confirmation to something your spirit has been carrying quietly. Stay close now. The next release will speak to the deepest core of your journey. Type "I step into my NEW timeline" in the comments if your spirit is resonating with this. Blessing code 5533 is now released over the ones stepping into divine acceleration. Beloved spirit, walk gently into this next unveiling, because Archangel Michael is revealing one of the most intimate truths about your spiritual journey. Truth that explains the quiet shifts you have been sensing within yourself. Truth that gives meaning to the deep changes unfolding beneath the surface of your daily life. This hour is not just an hour of settlement. It is an hour of transformation. Michael says that while heaven is preparing blessings, opportunities, and divine justice around you, something even greater is happening within you. Your inner world is being rebuilt. Your identity is being restored. Your spiritual sight is being sharpened. This is the part of your journey that heaven rarely reveals until the heart is ready to receive such understanding without fear, without confusion, and without returning to old patterns. You may have noticed recently that you feel different, not only emotionally, but spiritually. You feel yourself pulling away from chaos more quickly than before. You feel your patience for dishonesty shrinking. You feel your desire for peace strengthening. You feel a growing refusal to settle for anything that dishonors your spirit. These are not personality changes. They are signs that your inner identity is aligning with heaven's intention for your life. Michael says your spirit has entered a higher frequency, a higher attitude, a higher awareness. You are becoming someone who will not be shaken easily, someone who hears truth without confusion, someone who recognizes misalignment instantly. This inner shift is not random. It is preparation for what is coming. There is a reason heaven waited until now to reveal this. If this truth had reached you in an earlier season, when your heart was still fragile or when your identity was still entangled with old wounds, you might have misunderstood what heaven was doing. You might have thought you were losing yourself, when in truth, you were outgrowing who you used to be. You might have mistaken transformation for instability. You might have interpreted spiritual awakening as emotional fluctuation. But now, because your spirit is awake, because your inner hearing has sharpened, because your heart is stronger, heaven can finally reveal what is truly happening. You are stepping into your divine identity. Michael reveals that the person you are becoming is someone your past could not hold. Your old environments could not honor this version of you. Your old relationships could not understand this version of you. Your old mindset could not support this version of you. That is why so much had to fall away. That is why heaven removed certain paths before you could walk down them. That is why certain opportunities collapsed before you could enter them. Heaven protected the version of you that was still forming, because your destiny required a stronger, wiser, more aligned version of you than you had previously become. This divine settlement you are approaching is not simply a restoration of what was taken. It is a restoration of who you truly are. Heaven is returning your voice, the voice you silenced for the sake of peace. Heaven is returning your confidence, the confidence life tried to chip away. Heaven is returning your clarity, the clarity confusion once clouded. Heaven is returning your trust, the trust that betrayal once bruised. Heaven is returning your joy, the joy pain once overshadowed. Heaven is restoring you from the inside out, and this restoration is the foundation upon which every blessing will rest. Michael shows that the spiritual atmosphere around you has shifted dramatically. Where there was once heaviness, there is now lightness. Where there was once resistance, there is now openness. Where there was once stagnation, there is now movement. This shift is happening because you are no longer vibrating at the frequency of your past pain. You are vibrating at the frequency of your destiny. You are moving in alignment with heaven's rhythm. You are stepping into your rightful spiritual identity. And because of this, heaven is free to release what was once held back for your protection. You may feel moments of separation from your old self, moments where you look back at who you used to be and no longer recognize that version. You may feel moments where you no longer relate to old habits, old fears, old insecurities. You may feel moments of deep self-awareness where you realize how much you have healed, how much you have changed, how much you have grown. These moments are sacred. Michael says these moments are invitations to embrace your new identity fully, without guilt, without hesitation, without shrinking. There is also a truth heaven wants you to understand. You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. You have not fallen out of alignment. You have not lost time. Every delay, every shift, every pause, every redirection was part of this divine becoming. Your timing is now matching heaven's timing. The season you are entering is one where your inner transformation and your outer blessings will finally match. What you have been cultivating in private will begin to manifest in public. What your spirit has known quietly, your life will soon reflect visibly. Michael says that in this hour, heaven is calling you to trust what you feel internally more deeply than ever before. Your intuition is not random. Your inner nudges are not accidental. Your spiritual senses are not overactive imagination. They are the result of awakening. They are the signs of alignment. They are the markers of someone who is stepping into their divine identity. Heaven speaks to the awakened in subtle but unmistakable ways, and your spirit is hearing those whispers with increasing clarity. As this part comes to a close, Michael urges you to prepare your heart for what is coming next. The next unfolding will reveal the reason heaven has guarded you so fiercely, the purpose behind the protection you once misunderstood, and the destiny that has been waiting for this awakened version of you. Stay close, because the next revelation will connect everything in a way that will bring deep understanding and peace to your spirit. Type "I embrace my true identity" in the comments if this message is speaking deeply to you. Blessing code 3311 is now released over those rising into their divine becoming. Cherished soul, walk with reverence into this final unveiling, for Archangel Michael is ready to reveal the deepest, most transformative truth of your journey. Everything you have heard so far has been leading to this moment. Every revelation, every stirring, every spiritual awakening has been preparing your heart to understand the true magnitude of what heaven is releasing over your life in this hour. Michael says this settlement is not merely a blessing, not merely a breakthrough, not merely an answered prayer. It is a divine verdict. Heaven has ruled in your favor. Heaven has overturned what was meant to limit you. Heaven has dismantled plans that were formed against you. Heaven has declared that you are entering a season where everything taken, everything delayed, everything suppressed, and everything hidden is now being returned with spiritual interest. This is the moment where your entire story begins to shift from warfare to inheritance. Michael reveals that the battles you once fought were never meant to define your identity. They were meant to refine your authority. You are stepping into a chapter where you will no longer lie from the wounds of the past, but from the wisdom they produced. You will no longer walk with the heaviness of survival, but with the lightness of divine empowerment. You will no longer question your worth, your path, or your purpose. The confusion that once clouded your vision has been broken. The doubts that once held your spirit hostage have been dismantled. The fears that once whispered lies into your heart have lost their grip. You are walking out of the old and into the true. You are walking out of former patterns and into divine identity. You are walking out of delay and into acceleration. Michael shows a striking image now, your name being spoken in the heavenly realm as doors open in rapid sequence. These are not ordinary doors. They are destiny doors. They are restoration doors. They are justice doors. They are alignment doors. Some will open quietly, like gentle opportunities that feel natural and effortless. Others will open suddenly, like unexpected breakthroughs that catch your breath. But all of them are part of the divine settlement written with your name upon it. Heaven waited for this hour because heaven needed you awake. Heaven needed you aligned. Heaven needed you healed, stable, and spiritually aware. What you are about to receive carries responsibility, influence, and spiritual weight. This season required your awakening, and that is exactly what has taken place. There is something essential Michael wants you to understand as this revelation reaches its peak. This settlement is not only about returning what you lost. It is about restoring what you never realized you were entitled to. Heaven is giving you clarity you never had before. Heaven is giving you strength you did not know you possessed. Heaven is giving you confidence that no longer trembles at the opinions of others. Heaven is giving you vision that sees beyond what your physical eyes can detect. Heaven is giving you discernment that protects your spirit from false connections. Heaven is equipping you to walk into your destiny with maturity, intention, and truth. Michael says this is the season where you stop shrinking. This is the season where you stop apologizing for your growth. This is the season where you stop questioning your intuition. This is the season where you stop entertaining energies that pull you backward. You have awakened. You have risen. You have transformed. You have become the version of yourself that heaven always intended you to be. And because of that, the settlement is no longer delayed, is released. Heaven is also revealing the purpose behind the protection you once misunderstood. There were opportunities that seemed perfect in the moment but would have imprisoned your growth. There were people who appeared supportive but carried intentions disguised behind charm. There were environments that seemed welcoming yet would have drained your purpose dry. Heaven closed those doors not to punish you, but to preserve you. Michael says you were being shielded, not sidelined. You were being hidden until the appointed hour. You were being protected because your destiny required timing that aligned with heaven's design, not human desire. And now, because you are awake, because your heart is receptive, because your spirit is steady, the settlement can flow without hindrance. You will see restoration unfold in waves. You will see justice appear in unexpected ways. You will see opportunities align effortlessly. You will see relationships shift into divine order. You will see clarity emerge where confusion once dominated. You will see yourself differently, not from the lens of past experiences, but from the lens of divine identity. Michael urges you to hold this final truth close. The chapter you are stepping into will not resemble the chapter behind you. The heaviness is lifting. The resistance is breaking. The delays are dissolving. The fog is clearing. You are walking into a life designed with intention, purpose, and grace. Heaven has written a new beginning over your name. Before this message closes, take this to heart. The next unfolding of your life will be undeniable. You will know it is heaven. You will feel it. You will recognize it. You will stand in it with confidence, because your spirit has finally become aligned with the destiny written for you. Type "I claim my heavenly verdict" in the comments if your spirit knows this message is yours. Blessing code 9900 is now released over those stepping into their divine settlement. Now take a moment to lift this mission higher. Like this message to push it into more hearts. Share it so it reaches those who need awakening. Comment to strengthen its visibility. And subscribe so you never miss what heaven releases next. In this holy hour where heaven is releasing divine settlement and awakening the spiritually alert, your support becomes more than generosity. It becomes a sacred act of alignment with God's work. When you sow through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are empowering a movement that brings clarity, hope, and divine truth into places where spirits have grown weary. God Himself says, "When you release into my work, I release into your life, and the seeds you sow now become rivers of guidance for those crying out in silence." Michael stands witness as awakened hearts rise together, carrying light into the places where darkness once held authority. Those who give in this moment step into prophetic obedience, unlocking overflow, protection, and acceleration. May every giver walk under open heavens. May your house be covered with divine favor. And may your seed multiply as a testimony of God's faithfulness. Step into this act boldly, for heaven moves through those who move with heaven.